He said I'm sorry 47 times in 2 years. I counted them later, went through old texts, old voice messages, old conversations I could still remember word for word. 47 apologies, and here's what broke me. They were identical, same phrasing, same tone, same emotional beats, same promises, same timing. I thought each one was real, thought each one meant he'd seen what he'd done, thought change was coming. I was wrong. The apologies weren't about remorse. They weren't about recognition. They weren't about growth. They were about reset, about erasing what just happened so the cycle could continue, about buying time, about making me forget just long enough to stay. And the moment I saw the script, saw how mechanical it was, saw that I'd been accepting the same apology for 2 years, believing it was different each time, I couldn't let it work anymore. If you've ever accepted an apology that sounded exactly like the last apology, if you've noticed the same words, the same promises, the same emotional reset that buys another few weeks of peace before the pattern repeats, you already know what. I'm about to show you. You've already seen the pattern, even if you haven't named it. And seeing it named, seeing the structure exposed, might be the thing that finally breaks the spell. Might be the moment you stop accepting reset as resolution. I heard it so many times, it's burned into my memory, became background noise, became ritual, became the thing that made staying possible. Because if he was apologizing, he must feel bad. If he felt bad, he must want to change. If he wanted to change, there was hope. Except the apology wasn't about any of those things. It was a mechanism, a tool, a reset button that erased the incident, prevented accumulation, kept me hoping instead of counting, kept me focused on his words instead of his patterns, kept me believing this time would be different, even though this time was always the same. The apology has 4 parts, always 4, always the same order, always the same function. Once you see the structure, you can't unsee it, can't accept it again, can't let it work on you the way it worked before. I'm going to show you the 4 parts, show you exactly how the script functions, show you what I wish I'd seen the first time instead of the 47th time, show you how to recognize reset disguised as remorse. The first time he apologized was month 3. We'd had our first real fight. I don't even remember what it was about now. Something small, probably. Something that escalated. He had said something cutting, something designed to hurt. I'd gotten quiet, withdrawn. He'd let me be quiet for maybe an hour, then came to find me, sat down next to me, said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I was stressed and I took it out on you, and that's not fair. You didn't deserve that. I'm going to work on managing my stress better. I don't want to hurt you. You mean too much to me." I accepted immediately, felt relief flood through me. The fight was over. He'd recognized what he'd done. He was going to change. Everything would be fine. I didn't notice the structure. Didn't notice this was a script. Didn't notice he'd just run the reset protocol perfectly. Didn't know yet that I'd hear these exact words, this exact sequence, this exact tone 46 more times over the next 2 years. Part 1 of the apology script is acknowledgement without specificity. He says, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that." But he doesn't actually name what he said, doesn't repeat the specific words, doesn't demonstrate he actually understands what was hurtful about it. The acknowledgement is vague enough to feel real, specific enough to feel like recognition, but actually commits to nothing, actually names nothing, actually takes responsibility for nothing concrete. This is critical because vague acknowledgement can't be held accountable, can't be referenced later, can't be used as evidence of pattern. If I tried to reference it later, tried to say you apologized for saying that thing, he could claim I misunderstood, could say that's not what he was apologizing for, could rewrite what the apology had been about. The vagueness was strategic, was designed to feel like acknowledgement while actually maintaining deniability, maintaining his ability to reshape the narrative later. Part 2 is externalization, stress, work, traffic, bad day. Something outside himself caused the behavior. Something temporary, something circumstantial, something that won't happen again once the external pressure resolves. This is critical because if the cause is external, the solution is external, he doesn't need to change. He just needs the circumstances to change, and circumstances always change eventually. Circumstances are always temporary, so the apology promises change without requiring any actual internal work, any actual growth, any actual different choices. I believed the externalization every time, believed work stress caused it, believed family pressure caused it, believed fatigue caused it. Didn't see that external causes were always available, were always plausible, were always the explanation that required nothing from him except waiting for circumstances to improve, which they always eventually did, which meant he was always off the hook, always justified, always not actually responsible. Part 3 is the promise. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to do better. I'm going to manage my stress. I'm going to be more careful with my words. The promise is always vague, always future tense, always about effort rather than outcome. Working on it doesn't mean fixing it. Doing better doesn't define what better looks like. Being more careful doesn't establish any measurable standard. The promise feels like commitment, sounds like he's taking it seriously, but actually commits to nothing, actually promises nothing, actually creates no accountability. The promise is designed to create hope, to make me believe change is coming, to make me wait, to make me give him another chance to reset my tolerance, to erase the incident, to prevent me from counting this as part of a pattern, because patterns require multiple incidents, and apologies erase incidents, make them not count, make them exceptions rather than examples. The promise keeps me hoping instead of recognizing, keeps me focused on potential future rather than actual present. Part 4 is the appeal. You mean too much to me. I don't want to hurt you. I care about you too much to let this happen again. The appeal is emotional, is about his feelings for me, is designed to remind me that he loves me, that this isn't who he really is, that the hurtful behavior is aberration rather than pattern. The appeal makes me feel valued, feel important, feel like the relationship matters to him, makes me want to accept the apology, want to move past it, want to give him the benefit of the doubt. The appeal is the most effective part because it triggers my empathy, makes me focus on his distress about hurting me rather than on my distress about being hurt, makes me want to comfort him, want to reassure him, want to make him feel better about feeling bad. The appeal flips the dynamic, makes me responsible for his emotional state, makes the resolution about soothing him rather than addressing what he did by the end of the appeal. I'm not angry anymore, I'm focused on making him feel better. The reset is complete. Month 6, second major incident, same pattern, same hurtful behavior, different trigger, same apology, word for word, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I was stressed about work and I took it out on you, and that's not fair. You didn't deserve that. I'm going to work on managing my stress better. I don't want to hurt you. You mean too much to me. I accepted it again, didn't notice it was identical to the first apology, didn't notice the script was running, believed this apology like I believed the first one, completely, uncritically, desperately. Month 9, third incident, same script. Month 12, fourth incident, same script. Month 15, fifth incident, same script. By incident 10, I'd started having a strange feeling. A deja vu feeling, like I'd heard this before, like this conversation was familiar, but I dismissed it. Told myself, of course, it's familiar. Told myself apologies sound similar because they're addressing similar situations. Didn't let myself see that similar had become identical. Didn't let myself recognize the script. The script works because it feels real every time his tone is sincere, his emotion seems genuine, his distress about hurting me appears authentic. I wanted to believe it was real, needed to believe it was real, because if the apologies were real, there was hope. If there was hope, I could stay. If I could stay, I didn't have to face the alternative. The script gave me permission to stay, gave me evidence that he cared, gave me reason to believe change was possible. Year 2, the incidents increased in frequency, monthly became weekly, Weekly became multiple times per week. The apology script ran constantly, became ritual, became the way conflicts ended. Became expected, I'd be hurt, he'd run the script, I'd accept, we'd reset, the cycle would begin again. The apology lost meaning through repetition but gained function. Stopped being about resolution, became purely about reset, about preventing accumulation, about keeping me from counting. Here's what I didn't understand until much later. The apology wasn't designed to prevent future incidents. It was designed to prevent me from recognizing the pattern of past incidents. Each apology erased the incident it addressed, made it not count, made it exception rather than example as long as he apologized, as long as I accepted. The incidents remained isolated, remained unconnected, remained random rather than systematic. The apology was the CHAN that prevented pattern recognition. Month 20, I started writing them down, not consciously, not as documentation, just processing, trying to understand why I felt so confused, so disoriented, so unable to trust my own perception. I'd write down what happened, what he said, what he apologized for, what he promised. I started noticing repetition, started seeing the same phrases appearing, started feeling that déjà vu more intensely, but I still didn't see the script. Still didn't recognize what I was looking at. The breakthrough came month 22. We'd had a particularly bad incident, worse than usual. He'd been cruel in a way that felt calculated, felt intentional, felt like he'd aimed for maximum damage. I was devastated, shaking, couldn't speak. He let me sit with it for about an hour, then came to apologize, started running the script. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I was stressed about work. I stopped him, said you say that every time. Say what? Say you're stressed about work? Say that's why you did it? He looked confused. Said, well, I am stressed about work. That's not a script, that's just true. I said you've blamed work stress for the last 6 incidents. He said because work has been consistently stressful. I said, what about before work was stressful? What was the excuse then? He went quiet, couldn't answer. I saw something flicker across his face, recognition maybe, or calculation, or just irritation that I was breaking script. That night I went through everything I'd written down, every incident, every apology, laid them out chronologically, saw the pattern clearly for the first time, saw that every single apology followed the same structure, used the same phrases, made the same promises, blamed the same external factors, appealed to the same emotions. The script was undeniable, was mechanical, was identical across 2 years, across dozens of incidents, across every type of situation. I felt sick, felt stupid, felt like I'd been performing in a play without realizing it was a play, accepting scripted lines as genuine emotion, treating rehearsed performance as spontaneous remorse. I believed it every time, had reset every time, had erased the incident every time, had prevented myself from counting every time. The apology script had worked perfectly, had kept me hoping, kept me staying, kept me believing change was possible while ensuring change never happened. I decided to test it, decided to see if the script was conscious or automatic, decided to see what happened if I broke the expected. Pattern of my response, next incident came 3 days later, predictable. He said something cruel. I went quiet. He waited an hour, came to apologize, started running the script. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Instead of accepting immediately like I always did, I said, what specifically shouldn't you have said? He paused, looked thrown, said what I said to you. What specifically? He couldn't name it, couldn't repeat it, couldn't identify what specific words he was apologizing for. Tried to continue the script. I was stressed about work. I stopped him again, said how specifically does work stress cause you to say cruel things to me? What's the mechanism? He got frustrated, said I'm trying to apologize here. I said I know, but I'm trying to understand what you re-apologizing for and why it keeps happening. He said it keeps happening because life is stressful. I said, so this will continue indefinitely as long as life contains stress. He said, "You're being unreasonable." I said, "I'm accepting your framework. You're saying stress causes this, stress is ongoing, therefore this is ongoing." He left, didn't finish the apology, reset failed. That was the moment I knew it was conscious, knew the script was deliberate, knew the apology was tool rather than emotion. Because when I broke the script, when I didn't play my role, when I asked for specificity and accountability, he couldn't adapt, couldn't actually engage with what he'd done, could only run the script or abandon the interaction entirely. There was no genuine remorse underneath, no actual recognition, no real desire to change. There was only the script, and when the script didn't work, he had nothing else. I started refusing the script. Every time he tried to apologize, I asked for specificity. What specifically are you apologizing for? What specifically caused you to make that choice? What specifically will be different next time? The script couldn't handle specificity, would break down, would reveal itself as empty, as mechanical, as reset mechanism rather than genuine accountability. He'd get angry, say I was making it impossible to apologize, say I was being difficult, say I clearly didn't want to forgive him. The refusal to accept scripted apology felt radical, felt rebellious, felt like I was breaking an unspoken rule, the rule that apologies must be accepted, that refusing apology is cruel, that making someone feel bad about feeling bad is wrong. But I wasn't refusing apology, I was refusing reset, refusing to erase the incident, refusing to prevent pattern recognition, refusing to participate in my own confusion. Month 23, I counted all the apologies, went through texts, through voice messages, through journal entries, through memory. 47 apologies in 2 years, identical structure, identical phrasing, identical function, 47 resets, 47 erasures, 47 incidents prevented from becoming pattern. The number was devastating, was undeniable, was evidence I couldn't dismiss. I made a document, listed all 47, put them side by side. The repetition was absurd, was almost funny in its mechanical precision, was proof that I'd been accepting the same apology for 2 years, believing it was different each time, believing each one meant something new, believing change was coming. The document made self-deception impossible, made staying impossible, made accepting one more scripted apology impossible. Here's what I finally understood. The apology script has nothing to do with the person receiving it. It's not designed to make you feel better. It's designed to make him feel better, to relieve his discomfort about hurting you, to restore equilibrium quickly, to prevent consequences, to reset the relationship to baseline so the cycle can continue. Your acceptance of the apology isn't about your healing. It's about his relief, about his need to not feel bad, about making you feel bad. The script is brilliant because it feels like accountability, uses the language of accountability, mimics the structure of genuine apology, but removes every element that makes apology meaningful, removes specificity, removes internal causation, removes concrete commitment, removes measurable change. What remains is performance, is theater, is words designed to trigger your forgiveness without requiring his growth. Real apology names the specific harm. I'm sorry I said you were overreacting when you expressed hurt. That was dismissive and invalidating. Real apology takes internal responsibility. I said that because I didn't want to feel accountable, because defending myself felt more important than hearing you. Real apology makes concrete commitment. I'm going to pause and listen fully before responding defensively. And I'm going to check in with you tomorrow about whether you felt heard today. Real apology centers your experience, your hurt, your need for repair, not his need to stop feeling bad. Scripted apology does none of these things, remains vague, externalizes cause, promises effort without outcome, centers his feelings. The script is designed to feel like apology while functioning as erasure, designed to sound like accountability while preventing it, designed to create the appearance of remorse while protecting him from the discomfort of actual change. Month 24, I stopped accepting apologies, entirely told him. I didn't want to hear "I'm sorry" anymore, didn't want the script, didn't want the reset, wanted to see actual different behavior, wanted concrete change. Wanted the pattern to stop not through apology, but through him making different choices. He was baffled, said everyone makes mistakes, said apologies are how people repair, said I was being impossible, said relationships require forgiveness. I said I'll forgive when the pattern stops, when the apologies become unnecessary because the behavior changes. When sorry is demonstrated through action rather than promised through words. He said that's not fair. Said I can't grow without grace. Said I was punishing him for being human. I said accepting apology that changes nothing isn't grace, it's enabling. Said I'd spent 2 years giving grace, giving chances, giving benefit of the doubt. Said grace without change is just permission to continue. He couldn't function without the reset button, without the ability to apologize and erase, without the script that made consequences avoidable. The relationship couldn't sustain without my acceptance of apology because the relationship was built on cycles that required reset, required erasure, required me to forget, required me to not count, required me to hope instead of recognize without the apology script. The pattern became undeniable, became unacceptable, became reason to leave. I left month 26, not because of any single incident, not because the behavior got worse, but because I'd seen the script, couldn't unsee it, couldn't accept it, couldn't participate in reset anymore, couldn't erase one more incident, couldn't prevent pattern recognition one more time, couldn't hope one more time that this apology would be different, couldn't believe one more time that change was coming. The script had been exposed, the mechanism revealed, the apology recognized as reset rather than remorse. 14 months out, I can still recite the script, still hear it in his voice, still feel the pull of it, still feel the training to accept, to forgive, to reset, to hope. The script works so well, for so long, that my automatic response is still to accept apology, to erase incident, to prevent accumulation. I have to consciously override it, have to remind myself that apology without change is manipulation, that reset without resolution is control, that hope without evidence is delusion. Here's what I wish I'd known the first time I heard the script. The first time he said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I was stressed, I'm going to work on it. You mean too much to me." I wish I'd known to listen for specificity, to watch for patterns, to count incidents instead of erasing them, to measure change by behavior rather than promises, to recognize reset as mechanism rather than accepting it as resolution. The apology script works because we want to believe it, want to believe people who hurt us feel bad about it, want to believe feeling bad leads to change, want to believe love means never having to count, never having to keep score, never having to recognize patterns. The script exploits our generosity, our hope, our desire for connection, our training to forgive, to give grace, to not be harsh, to not be unforgiving. If you're reading this and you've heard the same apology multiple times, if the words sound familiar, the promises identical, the external causes interchangeable, if you're accepting apology while the behavior continues, if you're hoping this time will be different, while this time remains exactly the same, you're not receiving apology, you're being reset. The words aren't about remorse, they're about control, about preventing you from counting, from recognizing, from leaving. Real change doesn't require apology. Real change is visible in behavior, in choices, in patterns shifting, in incidents decreasing rather than apologies increasing. If the apologies are happening more frequently, if the script is running constantly, if you're hearing "I'm sorry" more often than you're seeing actual different choices, the apology isn't. Working isn't meant to work, is meant to reset, is meant to erase, is meant to keep you exactly where you are. Count the apologies, write them down, look for patterns. Notice repetition, notice vagueness, notice externalization, notice promises without commitment, notice appeals to emotion, notice reset, notice that you're being asked to forget, to not accumulate, to hope instead of recognize. Notice that the apology serves him, not you. Notice that acceptance prevents consequences, prevents change, prevents leaving. Notice that you've heard this before. Notice that nothing changed last time. Notice that nothing will change this time. Notice the script. Refuse the reset. Tomorrow, I'll tell you about conditional kindness. About kindness that came with terms, with expectations, with invisible price tags. About kindness that felt like gift but functioned as debt. About how every nice thing he did created obligation, created imbalance, created reasons I owed him, reasons I couldn't leave, reasons I had to tolerate the bad because look at all the good he'd given me, and how I didn't recognize that kindness with conditions isn't kindness. It's investment, it's leverage, it's another form of control disguised as love.